Right, we are live. Thank you everybody for joining in today. It's really exciting to have you here. I'm here with Master Nigel, who I worked with for 6 months every single day for hours, if you hadn't heard the story yet. And I'm so grateful to be here sharing his work, his activations with you, because I went through them myself. And it was very defining in my character and who I am today, and my ability to really see how I cause an effect and have a greater awareness of what is happening around me, so that I can move in ways that are like Neo in the Matrix.
Yeah.
So, Master Nigel, thank you so much for taking the time today. I really appreciate you coming in and being here with us.
Excellent, Adler. It's a pleasure. Always great pleasure working with Master Iain. And I'm looking forward to serving the audience today.
And maybe one thing that's really interesting is you've probably picked up on it already, anybody in the audience, that we refer to each other as Master Nigel, Master Iain.
Oh.
And that's just a little clue of what we're getting into today. It's just a clue. There's a purpose and a reason behind that. And it's very far from what my initial thoughts were when somebody said, "Call me Master." Like, is that this guy got an ego thing going on? He needs some people to call him Master, like, and it's master servant, like student teacher relationship, and there's something different, and we're maybe get into that. Because the truth is, well, some people believe that angels sung matter into existence. And it's spoken about in the Bible and all great scripture, the power of the word. And today we're going to talk about some of these key words, because there's key words and phrases that can either make things kind of messy or make things really harmonious and calm, is what I've found. And knowing what they are has a huge impact on every single conversation that I have and the outcome. And how close do I get to that, what I think to be the best outcome? So, Master Nigel, would you like to say anything about any of that?
I think you done it at the beginning when you said angels sung the world into existence. I always think about babies coming into the world and they have no language. And their first attempt at singing is wah, wah. And they're actually in the highest state of awareness. Of awareness, and it's like sent straight from heaven. And then the rest of it, what happens to them after they arrive, is a function of the words that come into the mind, and the way that the language is programming in the mind. And that's when it starts getting down to society and culture and all that. As we can see, let's just use America here, that depending on where you're born will determine a lot the quality of life that I experience growing today. And a lot of that is the result of how conversations entered my mind and how words were structured to either expand my mind or shut it down. And as with any careful examination, anyone can see that the majority of people have been programmed to shut down or limit the mind. And in the Evolved Life community, and certainly working with Master Iain, there's a conscious intention to leverage the gift of words to expand awareness, expand possibility, expand abundance, expand. That's our mission here on earth, and that's basically heaven. And when we have ultimate freedom to expand, it's heaven, I believe. Master Iain?
Absolutely. And the thing is, the power comes to expand and contract or create or destroy.
Yeah.
So it's the conscious awareness of these phrases. And I love that you went to the baby analogy.
Yes.
As I have one on the way. And that's one of reminding me of the language that I deliver to this child is going to be what they will really use. And a funny story came up about me. I don't know if anybody out there ever felt like an oddball.
Mm.
Let me know if you have. When I was a little kid, it's kind of embarrassing. I didn't talk. I wouldn't talk.
Really?
Used to talk. And anytime I wanted something, I just pointed and went, And I would just point at it until somebody got it for me. And I would just, and point, get what I desired. So the easiest way to communicate for me at the time, I think. However, everybody thought there was something wrong with me and I had a learning disability. So I ended up in all these tests to see if I had autism. And I go through this whole long program and everything. And then at the end of the test, the woman did something different that she hadn't done in all the tests. She spoke to me. And she asked me a question. She had a little toy in her hand. And she said, "Do you know what this is?" And I said, "A wheelbarrow." So the first word my mother had heard me speak in like a year and a half was this multi-syllable word.
Wow.
And the thing is, like, I was being so effective with the there was anything else could result in error. It could result in error because it wasn't as precise as and pointing. And I'm realizing that as you share that sound, because that structure of the language, one of the elements of it is having some kind of precision to it.
Yes, which we call words. Yes, otherwise it'll be and animals basically talk that way. Moo.
Yeah.
Moo. Moo. And they're saying, "How you doing? Good to see you." Moo. Same as dogs, right? That's it.
That's all they got. Yeah.
So now notice the intention to communicate, like whether it's an animal or a baby. There's an intention to distinguish wheelbarrow, hello, right? The words is what allows that to get communicated in the world, at least to other humans. So that's why they're important. And so there's words that I send out and words that I receive, and how my mind translates that into action or thought. So this whole word thing is words affect the way I experience reality.
Yeah, and the meanings that I have behind each word, like one of the things is really defining those words, so I know exactly what I'm speaking. I'm just moving here because it seemed like it was pretty dark. And just speaking of intention there, like just rapid attention around this show for everybody that's here in the audience. I think that's a key component to this, because we talk about the topic and that's kind of like the standard thing to do. However, the intention is really where the meaning is.
Yes.
So would Master Nigel like to set an intention, or would he like me to set one?
I'll frame it and then let you add the precision. Um, so, as that great example from Master Iain, right? Baby, right? And then, but the baby has to interact with another human. And when the therapist asked the question, you gave a word, and the baby, oh, so we have agreement on this wheelbarrow. Both of us agree on the sound, right? Now, if we expand that to relationships, where in a relationship, words determine the quality of that relationship. Or we're doing a financial transaction, words determine how well that goes. Or we're working out on our health, words play a lot of that. So in the sort of three major human interests is health, finance, relationships. Most of our engagements with words are to make something happen in those areas. So I'm thinking either relationship or finance would be a great topic to have to discuss intentions around and see how words change the quality and the experience of any of those areas. So, Master Iain, do you have a preference?
Yeah.
Let's pick one that's really
I think
difficult.
also my intention is to share the power of using intention and precision along with words to create whatever it is I'm intending to create, the outcome I'm intending
Yeah,
to create. And there are
yeah,
key phrases and words that can do either. And the awareness of these words, my intention is to give these words to anybody that follows along so they can practice with it and see how it really actually makes a change, like how the
yeah,
alchemy gets created. So my intention is for anybody that sits through here to walk out with some of that in them, embodied and practice it, or a deeper level of it if they're already practicing it.
yes. So just let me echo that Master Iain's intention is to share how using certain words with precision can determine outcomes or quality of an experience in life.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Now, just to even say that, my intention is XXX is actually a high level of awareness and conscious usage of words right there.
So yeah, let's jump on that because I know when I first started working with you, I was in a place where I had the awareness of that, yet my practice of it, there was all these words that would come out of my mouth. And although I knew the difference between responding and reacting, and just to kind of wind down anybody that's never heard of the difference between responding and reacting, how I frame it anyway, give precision here, is responding is like when I hear something, I take a moment, I see how it feels in my body, I see what thoughts get called in, and then I think about what kind of outcome I would like to have, and then I phrase what I'm going to speak. I basically let, like, something comes in my ear, I let it do a few laps around my head before it pops out of my mouth. Whereas reaction is when somebody says something and I've just been sitting there waiting for my turn to talk, so I don't even respond to what it is that they said, or I see what they said as some kind of attack and it triggered me and upsets me, so I get defensive. Like immediately walls go up, or whenever something happens immediately, like almost, I want to say instinctual with no intuition, an instinctual fear-based reactionary.
Yeah.
So when I started working with Master Nigel here, I had an awareness around this difference, this distinction. However, I had no idea of all the places that were in my blind spots. There were so many places in my blind spots, and these words these words were key elements to revealing those blind spots for me.
Oh, I see you.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, sorry, I lost you.
No, I'm just pausing for impact here, because it's a big thing to think about. The fact that my words and my unawareness of the words, me not even noticing, reacting, we're in my blind spot. So this clears out all the bullshit. This clears out the things that I'm hiding from myself, the things that only other people can see me as, because I'm not even looking. As soon as I look at these words, I see the truth, because I hear myself speak them.
Now, I have a sense that Master Iain maybe jumped slightly ahead of the group. I mean, of the audience, huh?
I don't know. Audience, tell us: Are you with me, or are you ahead of me, or am I ahead of you?
All right. Well, let me help to bridge the gap.
Phrase it.
Bridge the gap that I might be perceiving is that a lot of words are powerful, and they have, each one of them has a function and they do things. And that's why triggers work, is because certain words are loaded, like the word master. I can tell you that in a lot of African communities, African American, Caribbean, when Nigel says the word master, what triggers in others is slave. They're like, so what, Nigel? So you saying you the master and we the slave? Can you hear that automatic trigger? And in certain, when I used to speak in lots of communities, and I said, okay, speak in the Jewish community, and as soon as I say the word master, it triggers master race and Holocaust and all that stuff, right? And then in England, it's a term that means elite. You went to private school, and your name is Master Nigel, and you're the head of the school, right? So the meaning of the word can be stored in different ways in people. So as soon as I send it in, the meaning gets triggered, and I'm having a reaction. And as opposed to Master Iain saying that there's a difference between a reaction and a response. A response is where I literally decide what meaning I'm going to give it, or I may decide to restore it to its original meaning. So the blind spot that Master Iain's talking about is where I am just responding to an embedded meaning that's already in words, and every word that I've been given in language has a meaning, and it does work. Once it activates, it does what it's installed to do. So blind spot is where I have been programmed just by normal speech, and somebody says a word and it means this negative thing or this limiting thing, and I just react to it. And that is the sheep mindset, the herd mindset that a lot of people are working with, and it definitely interferes with relationships, finances, health, everything. So I wanted to bridge that gap, just because people may not be aware of the words, specific words that, like, we can guarantee, I think we touched on that earlier, that is doing some damage, and people may not be aware of it. And I'm contrasting Master Iain, because he's putting a lot of work to say to not be reactive. But there was a time when he was.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I get so we can go to battle. You'd be yelling at each other on the phone, and it's very rare for me to do that. So, and it wasn't very rare for me at the time. And I love the analogy of the word master.
Right.
because there's so many meanings. You can go like Tibetan master, you can go Kung Fu master, you can go to BDSM master, right? So
Right.
there's so many different meanings. So here is this one word that I think I know what it means. However, it means something different to every single person based on their relationships and the way they construct their language. So go ahead.
Well, it's the way yes, the culture can make it mean different things.
It's a connotation that ends up getting tied to it, but that's not the truth of the word.
And one of the things we've got to remember is that if we go far back enough, way back when somebody invented a word like Google, can you imagine now? Google didn't exist in 2000, I don't think, right? It's,
Not,
it's a
yeah, I
brand
think
new word.
about 2001.
And now it means to search, right? Man, you got to Google that. But can you imagine in 2000, whatever, 5, somebody went up to you, man, we got to do some Googling. And it's, what does that mean? Right.
Yeah,
And later on, if you're whatever the next generation of millennial are, they're like, what's Google? Right? What is that? Now, one of the intentions I would like is to have more engagement from the audience. Do we have anybody responding
we got
yet?
nothing. No comments as of right now. We got 2 viewers
We
on.
got to provoke them. That's what it is.
Yeah. So give us. So first of all, just tell me: are you following this? Are you following what we're saying here? Because I'd like to move to the next piece of it and start giving what some of these words are and these phrases are, putting them into like play and some action. However, before I continue, I'd like to know where everybody's at. If they're like, oh yeah, I know words are creators. I study them. Here's some of the words that I'm very aware of that are powerful words for me.
Yeah.
Drop it in. Let us know where your consciousnness is at, your psyche's at, or say you guys are full of shit. I can't follow this at all. I'm just on here because I left my phone open by accident. Whatever it is, let us know where you're at. And as that stuff comes through, and I'll pull it up actually in Facebook because sometimes Zoom doesn't show it for a delay. So, and there's delay by Facebook anyway. So that being said, maybe do you want to give an example of one of these phrases that somebody may use while I pull that stuff up?
Let me put a link in there as well. Let's see if I can do that.
Yeah.
Now, all of the purpose of words is to create reality. And where I see it is there's a difference between intention and reality, 2 different worlds. Basically 2 different worlds. And as far as I'm concerned, all intentions can be manifested into reality. And depending on how aware I am of words and my consciousness and other factors, the gap between my intention and my reality can be a huge time gap. And the more I am aware of the way that words work, is the shorter that time becomes. Now, I put in a link to the words, but the main root of all limiting words is the word not. N-O-T. It's such a subtle word that it's invisible to the ears, the eyes. It's like totally, people are saying it, and you're like, did you say that word? What word? It's the ultimate creation of matrix.
Yeah. Go get this sheet that Master Nigel put in here. I tell you, I kid you, like I'm going to share part of the thing, and I know you let me discover it. However, go download this and just look at how large the first word not is written. It's like in 40 font, and everything else is in like 14 font. And when Master Nigel handed me this piece of paper and said, read down this list of words, guess what I did? I started the word after not. I didn't even read that word. It was so blind to me. It was so in my language. And I knew already about the word not. And I knew about it being invisible. And I didn't have the practice or someone to be able to hold the mirror to me to show me where I was saying it.
Right.
And that was one of the hugest gifts.
Now, the word not is so, it's actually required on earth, interestingly enough. Without the word not, there would be no reality. Isn't that interesting? It's a paradox.
I think of it as the black of the yin and the yang. I think of it.
Yeah. So after studying it for like 20 years or just practicing, it occurred to me that if we think of like spirit or whatever the substances that creates matter, it's infinite, right? Like it's just formless and infinite, like space. And that is not much to use here on Earth. To have an experience, we've got to put things in forms. Like the shape of Master Iain is a certain shape, and anytime you have shape, it's called limits. Like the building that Master Iain is in there are limits on it. There's the rooms have a certain dimension; they're not infinite. So as soon as we want to have an experience, we've got to insert limits. And it turns out the word that allows us to have limits is the word not. You're thinking.
See, I see it. This is so cool because I see it still reversed.
You still what?
I see it kind of reversed. I see the word not, and I think the black. I think the negative. I think the feminine, and I see the masculine as the boundaries, or the limits, while the not is the space. It's the nothingness.
So now let's use it in language to demonstrate it. So, yeah.
So when I say this is an avocado, it exists as an avocado.
Yes.
And when I say it's not an orange, while it's still true, there's that ambiguity. There's the darkness. There's the unknowingness of what it actually is.
Well, there's a saying that says there's nothing until I say what it is.
It is. Yes. Yeah.
So it was actually, so in other words, the spirit is nothing. But if you look at the word nothing, you'll see not thing.
Not thing, not hang.
So in other words, it's thing until I add a not to it. But in other words, the way I say it is like this thing has it's like clay or what's that volcanic thing, lava, and it just flows all over the place. And then by having a thought, I would like a avocado, which in my mind has a certain dimension, look, it's got precision on it. And I'm using words to shape that. Then the lava or the thing or the spirit goes into the form that I use my words to create this thing or shapes in the form like liquid gold. I can say I want a ring and I get a gold ring, or I want a bracelet and I get a gold bracelet. But you notice I got to say it in order for the liquid to have form. Does that make sense?
So the not is what all things come forth from.
Turns out that not is what gives boundaries to what we see. Without it, then all things are just infinite. It's like looking into space, endless space.
Yeah, so I might say it's if I were to write a letter on a piece of paper, when somebody looks at that piece of paper, they're gonna look at the ink and they're gonna look at the writing.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the is. The
Yes.
paper is the not. Without the
Well,
paper in the background, the contrast would never have been able to be shown.
I'm with you. So I think what I'm hearing.
I disagree with me.
No disagreement. It's layers. So I'm looking at like absolute zero, like no form what's. Oh, let's go back to in the scriptures where it says, in the beginning, right?
Yes.
There was nothing. There's just darkness. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. And let there be X, and there was X. You know, all these things are getting spoken to into existence. So what was this darkness before I spoke something? That's what I think you're getting.
That's what that is what I'm saying. It's the nothing, the not. And
Is
to me it's boundaryless. The is becomes the boundary.
okay. You're reversing it.
Yeah, I'm flipping it.
Well,
and
I agree. I'm actually agreeing.
True.
No, I'm agreeing with you. Actually, there is. What I'm really saying is all words are limiting.
Yes, all words are limiting. We went off on a little tangent.
Including is.
Yes, they take all of nothing and compress it down to a thing at the moment I speak them from my mouth. So that vibration, that moving, coming out, that sound wave is taking the silence.
Yes, and creating
with it.
It's compressing it into something tangible.
Yes.
Right? But in other words, limiting it. So it's the sound. So there was infinite until I spoke. Right? So that's similar for remember we talked about the change angel last time?
Yes.
The change angel's mind is infinite. They're like super beings as far as I'm concerned until they learn language. And so now we notice that language is about limiting infinity into something. And that process of bringing infinity into finite is called creativity.
And this is what we were talking about earlier about precision in language. So I am actually creating what it is that I desire by being precise with my language.
Exactly. So that's what we did is lay down the basic groundwork and the theory of creation from the word, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why so far no problems, right? Right, no problem. Assuming that I'm paying attention to my creation, where the danger or whatever, the limitation, the suffering, all this unconsciousness happens is when it's almost like I could imagine myself closing my eyes and creating, right? Creating without paying attention. So then the question is, did I mean to limit this much or this much? I don't know. Deep, right? It's like paying attention to what I'm creating, which means paying attention to the words that are coming out of my mouth. So that's the basis of the virus words. When I'm paying attention, I can create limitations consciously. We call it art.
It's so funny. What I'm thinking is I'm like, he's giving this all away straight direct. I had to learn this through experience.
Well, I wanted actually that's a good point, Matthew. The thing is, it this practice of virus word awareness makes very little difference when I hear it. The work is speaking it. That's why it would be great to get the audience to interact. Or typing it is a way of speaking through my fingers, right? So
typing is even sometimes an easier way to identify where these words are being used, because in language
yes,
it can just be completely skipped over or kind of
yes,
filtered out, and I only hear what I want to hear anyway. So if you're like me, you only hear what you want to hear. Beep,
mm.
beep. Anyway.
So the key thing in this is speaking. So one of the things as far as wealth creation, I say my voice is my money maker. Like I'm going to be provocative and say every single dollar that's in my bank account and anyone's bank account came because they spoke. I know some people have all these 401k and what you call them, financial instruments, that market investment instruments,
Yeah.
but they're all moving around because of someone speaking.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So it'll be interesting if somebody wanted to respond about that. Would be a way we could see, like, let's hear the way that I'm speaking to determine what's going on in my bank account.
Yeah, so I invite anybody to drop in some more comments around anything going on, and let's see what we got. If anybody's got anything issues, maybe lose
Right.
language.
Very good. Now you touched on a key word there, issues. So one of the things I do in the sessions is we track people's issues. I think with Master Iain can remember, like, we had a whole thing called concerns and concerns list.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever is concerning me, what are your issues in life? And they usually show up in relationships, health, finances, and any other human concern, lifestyle. But the big ones are health, finance, relationships. So issues, all issues that I've discovered are actually virus-related conversations. Every single issue that somebody's had in their life can be traced back to a virus conversation that they're having without any awareness of it. And this is what we were talking about earlier, some of the words that get people into trouble without their awareness.
One just keeps popping into my mind here, and that this phrase, the problem is. While I was building the temple here, and anytime construction got a hiccup or a delay or any kind of challenge came up, the response was, well, the problem is, by the builders. And it was driving me nuts because that's all I would hear. Go ahead.
Well, here, I think there's more to it. They'll say the problem is blah, blah, blah is not something. The second part is what I would be listening to. So give an example of somewhere they said the problem is that.
Yeah, and I can give you, like, the problem is Jose didn't show up to work today.
There you go, right there.
Not too. Now the thing is, once I say the problem is, it's almost sometimes a cause for the effect of the not. So when I change my language to, actually, Emily's father uses a really good one, which is, the funny thing is, and then the mind immediately starts searching for something funny about it, or the solution is, or the opportunity is, then things move forward. However, the moment I say the problem is, I just injected that into somebody else's mind, and now the story becomes about the problem. Why even talk about the problem? So I like to cut it off at the problem, and the not is equally as important, because you can investigate from that. So maybe you want to talk about that a little bit.
I think what we're talking about is naming. When I look at, so Jose didn't show up today, right? That's some event or a description of Jose staying at home, right? I can name that a funny thing, or I can name it a problem. And depending on how I name it will determine how I experience it. So that's Master Iain choosing what label I apply to my reality, right? So conscious beings look at everything and go, oh, that's a great opportunity, right? Oh, Jose isn't here. What an opportunity for me to step up and demonstrate my capabilities, right? By naming it, I get to give it function.
Absolutely. And just to like reverse back in my life, there was a time when I used this problem is. So when I was using this problem is, and somebody told me to just start switching my language,
right?
I was like, but there's really still a problem. No, I'm not a negative person. I'm just a realist.
Realist.
I'm
Yeah.
just, I'm kind of in the middle of between negative and positive. I'm like, what's actually really real. Like I was really, really in that place, and I was really, really accurate, and I was creating those same results that I was attempting to create. I would rather be right about something than for it to work out in my favor, because I labeled it as a problem. I gave it the name that Master Nigel was talking about. It's a problem. It's going to be a problem. I know this is going to go wrong, and she's going to, cheat on me, and voila, cheating on me.
Right. So now we see creation happening. So just by naming something, it's brought into existence. And then it has meaning. And then we have to look at how does the mind, when the mind has given something meaning, how does that manifest the reality? There's something you said about I'm a realist. So I want to use my hands. Okay, this one. This hand is called reality. And this one is called intention. And an intention is something that is not yet real, right? And the reality is something that was an intention and now it's 3 dimensions, right? It's real. And I can look at reality and rename it and name it anything I like. That is not an avocado, that's an orange. And I can now change my reality of how I experience the avocado because I can put a word on this thing and let my mind see it differently, right? So most people are living in reality. Nigel, you got to get real, man. All this theoretical talk that you're doing about what's possible, you need to live in reality, buddy. There's real houses, real problems, real issues. And even when I'm in reality, I can recreate what reality is by deciding how I'm going to name it, because words can change how I see things. Does that make sense?
What you're talking about right now, what Master Nigel is talking about right now, is literally how I ended up in the scenario that I am in my life, like where I can't even think of anything more to add right now. My biggest problem is that I don't have any problems.
Now, we're going to go there. That's a good thing to talk about because that is the downside of living in heaven. Heaven on earth is it's boring. And so I think what happened is somebody said, you know what? Okay, we know that there is no real problem. It depends on how we name it. And now we have nothing. It's just bliss, like it's nothing. And it only exists until I say it. So I think what happened is people started saying, let's create drama. Drama means manufactured problem for entertainment purposes. And then somebody forgot it's drama and said, that is real. Remember that Charlton Heston or whatever who thought he was still acting um, off stage?
You're a little older than me. I
I'm
don't
sorry.
know. What I can say though is it's exactly what's been happening. Like Emily's got her belly now coming out,
Mm,
and she's lost quite a bit of weight actually since she got pregnant from the
right,
morning sickness and stuff. Like it really leaned out, got eating healthier and stuff. And just to mess with her, like I think I told her that she looked fat or she had a big belly or something like that. I think I said, "You got a big belly there," and she heard it, and she just like went straight into the, "Are you calling me fat?" and got like da da like so super upset. And I went back and I did the same exact thing and like just kept building the tension.
right.
But both of us were completely playing. And like all of
Exactly.
in that certain moment, like I think she said something about my eyebrow hair being weird or something like that.
Right,
She told me I smell like chicken today. And but like at the end of like at a certain moment, we just both looked at each other like end scene. And like just end scene, like in a movie when they end the scene, and like that's it.
right.
We're back to the same, like back to being
Next,
in a pure love.
right. So this is where Shakespeare was, I think this is what he was saying. Hey, listen, this whole scene, there is nothing here. It's just a canvas. It's a stage.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to create a play and make it funny and entertaining and dramatic. But at the end of the day, the play is over. That was good. What should we create next? Now, this is where this comes in, right? And I think Jeremy is the man of imagination, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we could do the same old scene. Oh, let's rename an avocado to an orange. The avocado was already created. Why don't we just delete all of that and imagine a new fruit called a pineapple? Hey, how about that? An apple with pines in it. Okay. And let's manifest that and then play around, create a new set of drama with that. In fact, why don't we just keep this thing short and create new stuff? You know, that's called evolve life, right? Ding, new, ding, like Apple upgrades every minute. Oh, have I lost you, Master Iain?